Yes, guys. Welcome back to the Instant Reaction. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 2 in the Carabao Cup semi-final. I have to say, someone really made me laugh with a comment they put in. I'm going to try and find it. Oh, here we go. From Josh Henry. Probably just getting briefed before he's allowed to go live. I've just spoken to the Cronkies.
Did to me.
Yeah. I've just spoken to the Cronkies, just spoken to Arteta. We're good to go. I have to be real. I don't think I've ever wanted to do an instant reaction less, but we are here. We're here to talk about Arsenal against Newcastle. I'm here with Forder. Let's do it. Give me a minute. I think what is the most hurtful, I guess maybe is the word, part of this is, I think, say we'd lost by, I don't know, a Saliba mistake or something uncharacteristic, or in a way that was kind of just not the way. Say we were, it was a blistering game, kind of end to end, and we just sort of they edge it, against us. I think no one wants to lose, but the hardest part for me is just watching the same mistakes happen again and again and again. And I will say, and I've been killed for it, but I really don't care. A lot of tonight is on Arteta. A lot. And we're going to come to many things that went wrong. But something like 8 big chances missed is also unacceptable from the players. And a lot of the time, the sort of, I would say the overarching themes of this season where it's gone wrong, you can look a lot to Arteta because the players change, but things don't seem to shift. But this evening, specifically, I am looking at the players, and there's not even one player in particular. I think basically everyone in our team missed a massive chance. Alex, we're going to come to a lot of things, but just overall, how are you feeling?
Just the exhale says it all, mate. Isn't it ironic that both of our names are Alex? I mean, just everything about that game just screamed story of our season. From the way we attacked the box was just, I don't know, is it conducive to a good attack for our players? There are even points, before the game. So I talked to Yembele last night about the game, and I said the one thing I can kind of rely on would be that our centre-back pairing, if they're together, they will be a good base. They are a fantastic centre-back pairing. Within the first 2 minutes, Gabriel go towards the ball, Saliba drop deep, and Isak just coming in behind. And I thought, what on earth are we doing?
The defending for the second, sorry to cut you off, but the defending for the second goal is absolutely unforgivable.
It's defending for the first, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but at least with that, there's an element of a bit of the bounce going for, Murphy just gets a run on it. But but the second goal, to not track that run from Isak into the boxes, it'd be all right. It's they've been so reliable, and of course this is the game. I feel incredibly. I'm sort of at a loss because what else? If you watch the kind of podcast enough, you'll know the stuff that we critique the team about and the stuff that we talk about, and it's basically everything we saw this evening. It's the lack of efficiency in the final third. It's the lack of transition quality, which actually I will say wasn't a problem by the second half because we were camped in their box, and then the box efficiency became a bigger problem. But actually in the first half, we saw it again. In terms of just the inability to transition, the shrinking of the spaces, the fact that there was so many times where there was one pass on that could have created an easy 5v4. Thank you for the super chats, by the way. We'll come to them in just a second. There's an easy 5v4, and we just don't take the pass because everyone wants the ball to feet. We're seeing Kai Havertz miss absolute simple chances yet again. We're seeing Martin Odegaard slowing the play down yet again. We're seeing Martinelli unable to finish his dinner yet again. It's the same thing over and over again. And I think this is the thing is the problems, and please don't get me wrong to say I'm not saying there are no problems. The problems are kind of so simple. I actually don't think they're that big problems, because if you look at, all the stuff that we normally talk about in terms of how, the game model, we should have, that could have been like a 6-2 game. It really could. Like, it absolutely could. But the thing that's stopping it being that is all of the same issues over and over again. And that is the issue. That is the issue. And that's a frustration. And that is what is leading to people leaving the stadium. I'm telling you, mate, this is not, again, as I said at the top, if we lost this game in a different way, people go, obviously it's frustrating, but we're still 14 unbeaten before this game, right? Like, people aren't leaving the stadium. The reason they're leaving the stadium is it's the same way.
Same story.
Over and over and over and over and over again. It's really frustrating.
I looked earlier and you just mentioned Odegaard. Declan Rice is creating more big chances than Odegaard, and like a huge amount more. The fact that, I really felt for Miles Lewis-Skelly in this game as well.
Brilliant.
I think during the first half, it must have been about 20 minutes in, he decides to dribble the ball between two players in his own box. And I thought, in a semi-final, to have your manager put you in place of Calafiori, he's had a lot of pressure there, Yeah. And then as the game went on, I just thought he just needs some support. And we just mentioned the centre-backs there. When that ball comes in for that goal, for that second goal, so Isak drops deep, and then it's played out wide. And at that point, he makes a blindside run. Rice doesn't pick him up. Partey doesn't pick him up. The centre-backs then don't close down quick enough. And I just thought, it's really simple things. And like you say, it's stuff that we see over and over and over again in the attack. And then ironically, with the defense and the goals that we're lacking, quite often they've been, I looked recently and I think for the last 9 goals, barring the penalty that we conceded, it's under 1 XG. Like the Mbeumo one is like 0.06, and they're all pretty crazy chances. Yeah. And then today we're conceding, much higher XG, and it's just so frustrating. And you look, and the chances that are taken are, one, it's Isak getting in, the second one again, he shoots, it rebounds to Gordon. And I put a tweet out straight away saying, imagine that, having a top quality winger and striker.
Yeah. That's another aspect of this, another frustration is you're seeing at the other end, all the things that we aren't. Yeah, it really is. It's like the kind of the perfect storm of a game for kind of I think this feels like the apex of Arsenal's issues in 24-25. I think if you had to watch a game to be like, what are Arsenal's issues in 24-25 and what are they missing? You literally put this game on and it's like, well, watch it. It's incredible. Let's come to some super chats. Thank you guys so much for your support for the channel. Really appreciate it. Shivank, 60% of attempts are tap-ins or headers, no creativity. Yeah, this is another issue. I think we've got issues with shot placement as well, was another issue I felt. Mm-hmm. A lot of the shots are getting blocked. When you're having 23 shots, and I can't remember what was on target. But 6 big chances, but 23 shots, and I can't remember any that really tested the keeper. They were all straight at him or straight at a defender. Obviously, credit to Newcastle because they competed well, but there's a shot placement issue as well. And just quickly while we're on this, this is such a tertiary issue at this point, but why do we take so long to restart the game? I don't understand it. I really, really don't understand it. And it's not even just corners, because corners I understand, and we've praised it in the past because we're setting it up. When you're getting results from corners, I don't mind that. Okay, there's going to be ones where you slow the game down for a minute, but if you look at the overall record of the corners, I'm okay with that. When it's a throw-in, when was the last time we got an advantage from a throw-in? And we're taking like 45 seconds over each throw-in.
We're getting penalised for it.
And then going backwards. It's mental.
It's bonkers when you're missing players like Timber because of these decisions. It's absolutely mental. Like, I generally can't get my head around it. And it's interesting because I think, to be fair, this is one of the first games that we have camped in the opposition's box at the end. Like a little bit of desperation. Like United were amazing at it under Fergie. You get the last 10 minutes and they would just bombard the box. They would make it so difficult for the opposition. And to be fair, we don't usually do it, but by slowing down the play in goal kicks and throw-ins and, free kicks when it's in your own half, I just can't get my head around it.
Yeah.
And it gives the opportunity for the opposition to just settle in, like restructure themselves, and it makes it really easy. It's that whole thing of, when you have attack versus defense, and quite often the defense, if they're well structured, they can stay there for, half an hour to an hour of just constantly heading the ball away. To do with the shot placement, I think we had 3 XG with 0 shots on target at one point. And then
let's do the stats right now because it's just come up. So I've got them here. This is from Scott Willis. So these are the numbers. 2.6 expected goals to 1.2, 23 shots, 2 on target. They had 7 shots with 4 on target. I mean, if that doesn't sum up the issues this evening, then I don't know what it is. 69.5% possession, nearly 70% possession to Newcastle's 30, over double the passes completed. We'll come to the field tilt. 58 final third entries to 26, 3.8 expected threat created, 66 deep touches. And this is why there's a meta Arteta issue, which I don't wish to ignore. But on this evening, we're doing an instant reaction to Newcastle this evening. So please don't get me wrong. In that 90 minutes, this isn't all on Arteta. Like, I'm looking at these numbers. A coach's job is to get you into the position where you have 6 big chances. You have to finish them. That's on you. He can't. What can he do? Like, what can he do from that position? Now, he picks the players. There's the transfer activity. Of course, that's a different conversation. But on the night, like, come on. 33 progressive passes, 49 zone 14 touches to 10. God, that's a horrible look. There's the running XG. Again, lots of kind of half chances, little chances, some bigger chances. Obviously, I think probably some of these will be the ones that we live to regret. That might have been the Havertz one there. There's a running XG. There's the post-shot XG. Yes, look, some huge chances right in the 6-yard box. I mean, these are some. I mean, obviously the Martinelli one, which hits the post as well. And then you look at Newcastle's XG map, and that looks very, very different. And that kind of tells the story of the game. And I actually thought for Newcastle, credit to them for the sort of first 25 minutes before actually I thought we dealt with them a lot better, where they gambled. They went, we're going to step up. We're going to put 6 players in your half, and we're going to basically play Isak standing next to David Raya, and we're going to see what you're about, because we don't think you can transition. They know. We think, oh, we watch Arsenal every week. No, Eddie Howe knows. Eddie Howe knows we are a team who don't transition. You don't think other opposition managers know? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. Look at all the numbers. They'll have all the data guys. They'll have all their scout guys. They'll all the analyst guys will say Arsenal brilliant in these areas. But honestly, if you get them running towards your goal, you're fine. You are literally fine. They'll slow it down. They'll drop in. Everyone wants the ball to feet. No one's going to stretch. How many times we sat there with no one on the last line? You're just making the pitch smaller. You're compressing the space for everyone. I don't understand it. And it is instruction. It's not just this evening. This is a Mikel Arteta instruction. And I don't understand it. I do not understand it. You're making your life harder for yourself. And you can have a conversation. Oh, is it profiles? Is it Ben White? Is it Caliphate? Put them wide. Just because a player's not perfect doesn't mean they can't go and stand on the touchline, and then you create yourself some space. This idea that we have to put everyone in exactly the perfect position for them to thrive. No, the best players, the players at the top level being paid what they're paid, have to go and do jobs that sometimes they don't want to do. Jurriën Timber, sometimes you have to get out of the underlap, mate, because we need that space for Odegaard, and go and stand on the touchline. We don't need you there. We need the space created.
Which is really, it baffles me, though, because one of the few transitions that were really, really good was when Martinelli came in a central area, actually broke away. I mean, whether or not his shot placement was a good idea, maybe he should have gone to the far post. But more and more, he is just not a touchline winger. He needs to be closer to goal. And I mean, if we can see this, is this a problem with the manager? Is this instruction? Is this Martinelli, deciding that he's changing?
So at some point, mate, I don't care if he's not a touchline winger. If what the game calls for is someone to go and stand on the touchline, which it was at points today. By the way, when we're you just saw the field set when we're stood in their final third, yeah, I need him inside. But when it's a slightly different game towards the beginning of the half, I need someone to go stand there. I don't care if it's a fullback, I don't care if it's a winger, I don't care if it's our fucking centre backs. You need someone stood there. You can't just collapse the whole thing in and shrink the spaces. And that's why you have 23 shots with two on target. It is insane. We've got a lot of super chats. Thank you guys so much. I need to come to as many as we can. We didn't even get our chances on target, says DOF. Yeah, we spoke about the shots on target versus the shots, which is just insane. Ivan Smith, who isn't to blame for this one. And yeah, this is the thing is what happens is you'll go, oh, the players are to blame tonight. No, it's the manager. No, it's everyone. Everyone has to take their share of blame. Where you think it needs to go is up to you. It's your conversation. You know, some people will think this is more on the manager or more on the players, but you can't absolve anyone of a bit of responsibility. So it's a complex picture.
Yeah, you're only as good as the sum of your parts.
Yeah.
And we almost had an argument on Twitter earlier after you said about the chances missed, and I said at the same time it is Arteta putting their faith in those players that are missing those chances. And I think sometimes people think we're ignoring that fact. We're well aware of it, but like you say, in isolation, those players are on the pitch. They are able to finish on those chances. The Havertz miss coming off his shoulder was criminal. And that is not on Arteta, regardless if the argument could be, well, he never bought him as a striker. I don't care if he's playing as a left back, as a goalkeeper. Please just get your head on it. I just don't understand how that could be missed.
And he has time.
And this is the problem. Yeah, he's got plenty of time. I texted you towards the end of the game and said, why is he on our right wing right now? And do you
know what, mate? No. I actually didn't mind that. I honestly, and this is going to get lost in the sauce a little bit, but I actually thought it gave us a bit of an outball. I thought it gave us a bit of reliability.
I mean, I don't mind it to a certain extent. Like, I mean, we need the width. We need to create width and we need to create space. So when the ball is coming into the box, then obviously it's not completely congested. However, when we have got Jesus being our target for these long looping crosses, I would much prefer, for me, maybe interchange.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
I mean, to be fair, there was one thing I was crying out for prior to the beginning of the match was, let's not be predictable in our attacking lineup, because, and I will give Arteta some credit, not a lot of credit for it, but prior to the game, I thought it would have been Martinelli out on the right, Trossard out on the left, and Jesus up front. The fact that there was a slight change, like, brilliant. But as the game went on, I mean, could we be a little bit more fluid in our attack at the moment? I mean, is that another way that we can start changing our fortunes? But unfortunately, we're just becoming quite predictable. And like you say, the frustration just grows from that predictability as well.
It does. And I think the lack of fluidity and the lack of feeling like we can access that central 6-yard area with consistency again comes back to the profiles that we have in there. Jesus wants the ball to feet. There was a moment towards the end where Jesus is actually very reliable at receiving back to goal, dropping in the penalty box in those sorts of situations. The problem is he never turns. He always pulls his defender out and goes round the side and then knocks it back. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. I don't care if you receive the ball there. It doesn't help us because you end up pulling it out of the box. It doesn't make a difference. Kai Havertz, again, similar. Okay, yeah, he's a reliable, as you were sort of alluding to, he's a reliable outball over there, and he's someone who you can go long to. But then when you're putting the ball 10 times into the box, you want Kai Havertz in there. And then when you get a chance in the box in terms of the ball going ahead, you need him to finish. So it's always an interplay of sort of profiles and manager and the player's fault and the manager's fault. But at the moment we're very skewed, and until we get someone who can pin and roll a centre forward, the classic example is Lukaku against Pablo Mari. Just imagine that moment, someone who can literally go, I'm holding you off, I'm stronger than you, I'm quicker than you, I'm going to get around you, and that's going in the back of the net. If we had that player, we win that game 2-3-0. No problem. And this is the frustration as well. I said this earlier. We're not actually a million miles away. The problem is we have a few very fundamental issues that actually are quite simple to solve because everyone is seeing them, that are not being solved. And it really, we don't, and please listen to me, people, because I'm going to get misunderstood, but please listen to me. Do we have a problem getting the ball up the pitch? Look at the field talk numbers. No. So the ball progression, the build-up stuff is not an issue. Do we generally have a problem with defending? This evening aside, do we generally have... No, we have the best XG against numbers in the entire league. Do we generally have an issue with controlling transitions? Do we generally... You go through every aspect of coaching, most of the things are great, but we all know the issue that isn't being solved and no one understands why he isn't solving it. That's the annoying part. Like, let's not get confused and think we're this rubbish team. Let's be hyper specific about what it is going wrong, understand that, and then call for that to change and try and understand why it isn't changing, because Mikel must know. Mafia, in what world does it make sense to cross 50 times in the last 30 minutes but move Kai to right wing? Arteta must find a better balance in attack. I think that was sort of what we were referring to a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think when you are collapsing the space in the way that we are, you're gonna have to cross the ball into the box. It could just picture the game state in your mind. Martinelli dropping out. There's 12 plus a referee. There's 11 Newcastle players in their box. So you're not going to dribble through that. So you have to put the ball into the box. The question is, why is there 11 in the box? Because we're not allowing to step onto us because we can't transition through teams and we're not getting enough width to create the space inside. So,
question for you, Alex. Would this have made more sense in terms of the change of personnel during the game? Obviously, we brought Zinchenko in. And then I believe Jorginho came in, didn't he? Towards the end of the game, is it like a right game state for a Tierney and for a Marino? So
I would think so.
Playing off second balls,
yeah.
I mean, whipping balls in from Tierney. That's something that we saw quite a lot under Emery, especially. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Tierney, but in that game state, maybe that would be the way forward. I just don't understand with Zinchenko what he really offered in that moment when we're 2-0 down. I just don't. I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but
yeah, exactly. And if he whips in a ball from the half space, we're all going, well, brilliant. I think generally, though, you're right. It is that there is a difficulty with Mikel deferring to seniority, which he continually does, and deferring to what he knows, which is what I think he goes with, but also that. I think a lack of desire to change that. I think what it is Mikel is, and he is like, think about it. Think about how we played against Man City in the first half of the Etihad. Think about how we've dealt with teams this season at many points. He knows, and I bet, I absolutely guarantee you, what Mikel spends most of his time doing at the training ground is you need to make this person jump because that's going to happen, and and do all of this, and it's once I don't know Joe Willock does this, and I need you to press this, and that's how we get the ball up the pitch. We can squeeze the ball up. There's what's his name on the Arsenal division? I've forgotten his name, but he always talks about the toothpaste. You can get the toothpaste up the tube. I think it's Paul in the Arsenal division. You can get the toothpaste up the tube. That is not his issue, but that's where he puts his focus. And I think he thinks about with the players like Zinchenko, okay, that ball's got to go through there and you've got to do this, rather than maybe just simplifying it a little bit and going, who's best at putting the ball into the box and who's my biggest guy who can get on the end of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is that simple. Sometimes it is. We've got to get through the super chats. Thank you guys so much. Tyler Blake, if we don't have a new attacker by the end of the week, I'm jumping on the Arteta outro. Well, on this, mate, I mean, again, this is coming back to probably the theme of the pod so far, is that it's not just Arteta. And again, that people are going to go, you're making excuses. No, I'm saying he has his share of the blame, but it's not just his bank account, is it? He has to go through. If you go through those, athletic long reads, they're very well placed. They tell you what it is. It goes through the sort of the coaching team identify an issue. Then it goes up to, it used to be Vinay, goes up to Richard Garlick, or it used to be Edu, but it would go up to Jason Ito at the moment. Then it would go to Tim Lewis. Then it goes to the Cronkies. Then the Cronkies have to approve it. Then you have to go through the agents to get the deal done. This idea that Arteta could click his fingers and it's all on him and that's the reason is FIFA. That's FIFA. Yeah. Can Arteta push? Maybe. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about that comment?
I mean, one thing I think people have to keep in mind as well, like release clauses have to be paid in full. as well. And this is something that sometimes we forget. So a player like Gyökeres, who funnily enough this evening during the game came out and his management have said he wants to stay until the end of the season. So if you are going to put money down for a Gyökeres or for Osimhen or Nico Williams or whoever it may be, you have to pay in full. So again, that's not as easy as just putting the money down. That has to be accepted by the board. The owners have to say, yes, we are going to put down 45 million plus, in one lump sum. And that, we would have budgeted specifically long term. It's not a case that we would have ever thought we'd be in the position we are right now in terms of the squad and the amount of injuries we have and the sickness bugs and all the other problems we've had. So unfortunately, don't get me wrong, I want a new attacker, but it's not going to happen by the end of the week. It's just not. It's not viable. It's not.
If that wasn't loud and clear to the Cronkies, there was a level of unprofessionalism in the finishing. Yeah, we've kind of spoken about this in terms of where you put the blame on the players a little bit for the finishing. Again, I hate how to keep saying it, but it's not absolving the manager. Just saying that there was, at some point. And I also, to be fair to them, this is going to get lost as well in the result, and maybe it should do. I actually thought we reacted pretty well. The issues that we have are chronic issues that are frustrating us, but actually I thought the players responded pretty well. I thought Declan Rice had a great game at points. I thought Miles Lewis-Skelly had a great game. I actually thought Kai Havertz responded really well. He's taking his man on the right-hand side and he missed his chance. Of course he did. But in terms of the response, once that second goal goes in, I was actually quite pleased because I was really angry and I felt some of the players were angry too. And I don't think they gave up, which is not saying it's, top of the tree of things that we're happy about, but it's at least something. Alex says, another Alex, triple. It hurts to say, and Isak, four of us. It hurts to say, but I'm losing faith in our ability to be dangerous, and every team will feel the same. There's little to no threat there. Speaking of Alex's, Alex Isak. Oh my God. The things I would do, mate. It's not that complicated. He's just very good at football. So I think sometimes I hope in spaces like this, we try and understand the game at a level a fan can, because, there's obviously levels to this that we just never, I was reading in The Athletic about, I think Slot's doing psychosocial biological fitness training at the minute, where he's taking swabs of people's spit and stuff. The levels that this game goes to is beyond the fans' comprehension, but we try and understand it, right? But sometimes I think it is pretty simple. Just watch Alexander Isak, watch how he controls the football, watch the runs he's making, watch how he duels, watch how tight he is with his feet, watch how he finishes. It's not that hard. Just go, he's worth that money. He's so good. Just go and someone of that level. You can just see it. It jumps off the screen.
Yeah, I can't really add any more to that. He's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Kelly Preston says, go get Gyökeres or Isak, the dream, please. Arsenal, thank you for being a member. Kelly, appreciated. Nathan Piper says, is it fair to say Arteta is inexperienced with dealing with adversity in the squad? Does a fully fit squad frustrate us like this? Well, I think... I was just going to say, I think maybe, again, we're heading into excuse territory, but you can call it an excuse, or I would rather say it's a reason. I think part of the reason maybe is because of the injuries, you realise, players like Timber, players like Rice, players like Odegaard, players like Havertz, maybe on another night, Kai Havertz doesn't have, if we have a forward, Kai Havertz doesn't have to start this game and play 90 minutes because, just off the back of an injury, he can come on and be fresh and have a proper impact. Maybe on another night, we don't have to play Saliba and Gabriel. Maybe on another night, we don't have to run these guys dry. Jurriën Timber's coming off the back of an ACL and he's played so much football. And it's just unfortunate with what's happened with White, but yeah.
The squad is so thin. That's one comment that has really riled me up recently. The fact that the club knew how thin the squad was in terms of numbers. Adversity, I don't think anyone really has experience in the amount of things that we've had to deal with in terms of red cards, illnesses, suspension, whatever it may be. I don't think anyone really has experience in that, let alone, obviously within their first 5 years of being a manager. So,
yeah. Skaman. There is no passion without drama. Enjoy it. Come on, you Gunners. Member for 14 months. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Listen, we can't say Arsenal don't cause a bit of conversation. We can't say Arsenal aren't interesting. So
if you're an Arsenal fan, put it on your CV because it shows a lot of resilience. All right, there's an art to being an Arsenal fan. It says a lot about you. If you meet a nice lady who's an Arsenal fan, she's a keeper.
It's very true. It's very true.
Loyal.
It's certainly true. It's certainly true. I mean, if someone came in for a job interview, they were like, "I've been an Arsenal fan for 15 years." You go, mate, welcome to the firm.
You've got it. You've got it.
Exactly. London Nomad says, get Arteta out. He's drained the squad mentally and physically. Players look like they don't even buy into his tactics anymore. The problem was never Edu. Who said the problem was Edu? It was Arteta with his so-called profiles. Well, players do have profiles, whether you like it or not. Thoughts on that?
He can't be excused. I mean, there are obvious problems, but we've mentioned it earlier. It's not as simple as it's just the manager. There have definitely been the one problem I do have, if we're talking about Edu, is that we went for Mudryk, which might have been, the primary target. We then got in Trossard, kind of like a stopgap. We went for a Caicedo, and we ended up with Jorginho, a stopgap. But these are players who are playing quite a considerable amount of minutes. However, if you look at we're looking at profiles right now, neither of which are similar profiles at all.
Yeah, they don't fix the issue that they were trying to fix with Caicedo or Mudryk.
So we're still lacking a Caicedo. We're still lacking a Mudryk, kind of, in terms of pure pace, albeit he's not available currently. But I'm not on the Arteta out train.
I think that's a good point though, in terms of we haven't the issue we identified with and Šeško as well. Šeško in the summer, that issue that we identified hasn't been solved. Now, there's always the question mark of, can you get through a season? Can you do things different ways? There's always different, there's always different ways. There's different ways of progressing the ball. There's different ways of finishing. There's different ways of shooting. There's different ways of passing. You can do basically anything football sort of any way you like. But clearly, if you thought there was a £60 million hole in the squad or a £70 million hole in the squad or whatever it might be, and then you go and sign £20 million, that's a quality gap. So yeah, you're right. But yeah, I'm not Arteta out. People will probably guess, but look, it's a bigger conversation than we're going to have on an instant reaction, to be honest. So yeah. Rafa Honigstein. Hello, mate. We've watched Arteta coach side-to-side horseshoe football for a long time now. We are excellent defense and possession, but it's so easy to nullify our attack. JDP is yesterday's game. Well, I don't think he's particularly JDP anymore, to be honest. I mean, that's another conversation. But I would say there's a lot more fluidity and freedom in terms of how we build up than in a typical JDP team. I would say in the final third, maybe there's principles of kind of certain things he does in terms of the wingers staying wide and things like that, and then sort of overlaps and stuff, but not really. I think more honestly, it's more about profiles at this point for me and putting people in the right positions at the right time, as we spoke about with Jesus and Havertz, etc. But also that individual freedom, which we've always spoken about, and giving the right player individual freedom. But ultimately, that player would have been Bukayo Saka. Look, we've gone through the whole pod. We barely even mentioned him. He is our best player. And I'm sorry, if Liverpool lost Mo Salah, they would have a drop-off. It happens. I'm not saying they're the same player, but he's our best player. And Salah's their best player. It would happen.
Just look at Man City currently. I mean, yeah, unfortunately. I mean, and that's why we're in this position we're in. I mean, it's not the sole reason, but in terms of the discourse about the January transfer window, it's because everyone wants box efficiency. Everyone wants a moments player, and they cost you. They cost you. So if we've said about Alexander Isak. I mean, if you want a player of that quality, you have to pay the money.
Yeah. And there was a quote that came out from Mikel in September about the Cronkies, and it was something like, they're the most ambitious, driven, brilliant owners. And I'm now just like, mate, show us. I don't. Is there do you think there's any Arsenal fan? Genuinely, can you let us know in the comments? Is there any Arsenal fan who doesn't think we need a forward, or doesn't think we need something like a forward signing in some way? Is there anyone? I'm genuinely love to talk to you if you're being serious. From Albazet to have Zeus, from mid to trash. Well, but what's interesting is I think they would struggle in this team because of the out of possession work and the physical demands on this team. But in terms of the transitional quality, when Mikel first came in, that Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette stuff that was going on, he's proved he can coach that, or he certainly appreciates that in a team. Obviously it was slightly more put on him at that point because we had to play in a different way. But he proved that you can get results through that. And it's not about becoming Liverpool. It's about make a video on the different knocks. Sorry to plug my own channel on the Cannon, but about high turnovers and how we deal with high turnovers. And there's so many situations where we just collapse in, we drop off the last line, everyone's coming, everyone wants the ball, and there was this moment where we won the ball back, literally smack bang in the middle, and everyone runs widthways. Yep. No one makes that central striker's run. It's really frustrating. Junior, when do we admit Arsenal is to Arsenal? No, hang on. I can read. When do we admit Mikel is to Arsenal what Rodgers was to Liverpool?
There's definitely...
Admit it! Now!
I mean, there's a basis for an argument there. I would definitely say, you can't just ignore it. But we are far too early, I think, to have that conversation. And it's not a conversation, obviously, for an instant reaction. That's a far more nuanced conversation. But...
Well, just to go there for a second, people have heard my opinion. People have asked me stuff on the podcast before. I'm not, people obviously will think I'm just like an Arteta fanboy. I am to some degree. I think he's great. But there's a world, of course, there's a world in which Arteta has to go. And there comes to a point. Of course it does. And if we drop out of the cup competitions and we don't make a good account of ourselves in the league, and I feel we've stopped improving, and I feel like the squad is drifting, and I feel like and I look at another manager, I go, I think actually you would do better with this squad. Of course, absolutely. So no one's saying that this is the perfect manager who will never ever make any mistakes and he's never going to be wrong. Of course he is. I've always seen him fix issues, and this is the weird part about this evening and the issues that we're having. Is he usually fixes the glaring issues in the team. And we spoke at how many times we spoke about it with, needing to move on to Zinchenko, or when Smith Rowe came in, or signing Calafiori because of the Gabriel thing at Bayern, or moving Saka around, whatever you want to say, the development of the team, he's always gone to the next thing. He might have taken a little while, fair enough, but he's always done that. And it feels like we've hit this wall since... Well, it's kind of been brewing for a while, but this level of wall, I think this issue in terms of the efficiency has been since maybe the beginning of last season. You could have a conversation about it. So, yeah. Sorry, we're going to have to rush through some of these super chats just because otherwise we're going to be here for 3,000 hours. Thank you so much. And we've got homes to go to. Odegaard is the next Martinelli in terms of falling off a cliff. People can defend Arteta by saying players are missing tap-ins, but he is the one who bought them. Kai and Jesus at 280k per week is a joke. Yeah, both are true. On Odegaard, my issue is at the moment we are asking him to do a job that I don't think he's suitable doing. And what I mean by that is we're expecting him to be our thrust in the midfield. That is not who Odegaard is. He's going to be the player who drops out, who links to play, who maybe plays that either needle pass, who deals with stuff in the press. And then you need next to him a Musiala, who is the thrust, who can deliver that moment, who can deliver that that shot from the edge of the box, who can drive you through a midfield. That's not who Odegaard is. Stop expecting him to be that. It's not who he is.
Nice and easy. We just take Musiala.
Just sign Musiala. Come on, mate.
So sorted. Job done.
Exactly. 5 years in, and this is what he bought: Leandro Trossard, Raheem Sterling, Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, Willian, Marquinhos. Yeah, let's be real. Mikel's forward record is not good. No.
But it's not to say that we haven't targeted other players.
Yeah.
And then that's the other part of the argument, isn't it? You look at the Seskos, the Mudriks, whoever it may be, we've had links to other players. It's not quite as simple as that. I mean, and then vice versa, you could look at, the defensive signings being fantastic. We've completely revamped that.
Yep.
We are one of the best out of possession teams in world football. So it's not just that. But I would agree. Do you think it's partly his own faith in, developing wingers and things?
Well, it's partly when he sorry, it was partly when he came to the team, he had Bukayo Saka. So, that's 150 million pound worth of talent that you don't need to buy because it's in your academy. And also Gabriel Martinelli, who, okay, it's something's changing, but he probably would have gone and bought someone else if he hadn't had Martinelli. So that's hundreds of millions of pounds worth of talent that he didn't need to buy because it was in there. I mean, I will say, as you were alluding to earlier with the Mudryk thing, the Trossard thing was clearly a stopgap signing. The Sterling one is a mistake. Sterling was a mistake.
Dreadful signing.
End of conversation. It's a mistake. Kai Havertz, I think overall has been a good signing. Gabriel Jesus, at the beginning, we all saw that impact, and it's kind of tailed off. Willian and Marquinhos, I mean, they're poor signing. So there's not no hope in there. And then when you consider the Saka and Martinelli stuff, there's a conversation, and you consider who he's looked at in the market. I think he needs backing, and he needs to be braver. Both can be true. Anthony B, how excited are you to see Martinelli replaced?
Go on, Alex.
I've talked enough. Go on.
I don't even know what to say. I've tried to fight his corner, especially at the beginning of the season. I really did. It just gets harder and harder and harder, doesn't it? And I just hope. We need to sign. The problem is, it is not as simple as sign one top striker, because I feel that we do need a left winger as well. We need backup for Saka. I mean, come the summer, this is the problem as well. Come the summer, we also need a backup goalkeeper, because our current cup keeper that is cup tied in Neto will be leaving. And then, it's just, why have you got me to come on an instant reaction today,
I'm
Alex?
so sorry. I did say when he turned up earlier in the stream, I was like, I can't believe you're here, mate. Don't know why you'd be doing this. Guys, please, I need copium. I feel sick after this. I hope some of this is copium. Look, it's made me feel a little bit better. It's one
There's
game.
a second leg.
There's a second leg. We're definitely going to go to St James's Park and win 3-0. Of course we are.
Yeah, be fine.
That's your copium. We're going to speak into existence. Yeah? Come on, guys. Jake Donovan, I don't get why Kai was asked to hold the touchline out of the half. If you're going to hoof it in, leave him up top. Yeah, we kind of spoke about this, but it's a very good point. Yeah, I do. As I say, I do think there was some good thinking to it in terms of that out ball. I think he did well in the air. But yeah, if you're going to put the ball into the box, however many times we did, you have to leave him in there. VMW. Do you know what's funny about super chats is I want to read them all out. So theoretically, if someone just kept putting in 1p super chats, I would have to stay here all night. Arsenal's you could go if you want. Arsenal's poor planning is leave. Yeah, exactly. Just cut the stream. Arsenal's poor planning is hurting us. No quality attack on midfield for 2 seasons, and now injuries and overwork are exposing us. We're victims of our own misfortune. Poor depth is costly. Yeah, my only really response to that is like, I think again, engaged fans will want to go into things and go, well, but this and Marino and that player and that wasn't available and you've got to be sensible. It doesn't matter when the picture looks the way it does in terms of where we are. Like when you zoom out, none of that seems to matter. So I can go into that. I could go into that argument and go, well, if you think about who's available, actually the injuries, and you can explain all of it away, but it kind of doesn't matter at some point. It's just like, well, it's about getting over the line.
It's so hard, isn't it? I had a discussion the other day with Jack Davenport, and I said, we need to get really strong for this cup tie. And then realised, well, we have no option because players are the players. We have no options right now. The team we field is the team that we have available to us, really. And in terms of overworking, I mean, you could look at a player like Timber, we're in a situation where we cannot rest him. We just can't.
Yeah.
And you look at the fixture list right now, we've got Spurs coming up, we've got United, we've got the Champions League games. Like, where on earth would you rest anyone right now and rotate if possible? Considering the sickness bug going around and the amount of injuries we've got. And
United on Sunday, Spurs 3 days later, Villa at home 3 days later, Zagreb 4 days later, away at Molineux 3 days later, 4 days later go to Spain, play Girona. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. 4 days later, go to Man City. 3 days later, go to St James's Park. And then we've got 10 days
for Leicester.
For Leicester.
Hey.
Can
yeah,
we
that's
just,
where
like,
I went.
pause,
Oh, that'd be the rest.
Can we pause time and go to Dubai?
I know. I wanted to suggest that we just have a Dubai break. Just sack it off. Just
when Arteta first arrived, the attack was decent, but the defense was a disaster. Now it's the opposite. It says basic. I don't know, but decent is unfair. We are literally, like, objectively in the Premier League, the best defensive team. We're not decent. We are one of the best teams in Europe, if not the best team in Europe defensively. Attacking, again, not a disaster when you consider the last 2 seasons we scored the most Premier League goals, but big problems, absolutely. So I know what you mean, but I do think saying the defense is decent is really unfair. It's very good. Let's come to next one from Sham. Why couldn't we put Sterling on for Rice and play 2 strikers up top? It's so damning that I have absolutely no confidence that we can score. That's another thing about this game. I knew we weren't scoring. And this is an issue this season, by the way. I'd love to know the numbers about where we are in terms of turning games round, or when we lose games, like as in going game state transitions. I would be shocked if we have anything more than 3 games that we've won from a losing position, and I would be shocked if there's any more than 5 games we've won from a drawing position.
I want to say the Brentford game was the second time in the last 12 months. That might be away, yeah. And ironically, I looked straight away. It was one of the first things I looked at when we went down to Newcastle, because they haven't lost a game from being in a winning position. So as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure maybe once.
Can someone in the chat check that? Because I'd love to know the numbers on that. I would be.
So I'm saying Brentford and Southampton. Yeah,
Brentford and Southampton. Are they the only 2 games in the league we've come from behind, or just all season? I'd love to know all comps what those numbers are, because I bet they're really poor. I bet they're really poor this season, and that's a big worry. Frederick says the reason we haven't bought strikers was to give Jesus and Havertz a chance. One has to give players some time. We are second. Frederick, very positive. Thank you, sir. Jesus has had his time. Jesus has had his time. We know what he is now. I don't like that. Havertz, I don't mind. I think what you said earlier, you think we need a striker and a winger. Maybe as well we just need a winger, because again, I don't think we're millions of miles away. But it would require a coaching change as well as a profile change. And is that going to happen? That's a different conversation. We are second. And again, this feels really hard. And over the course of 48 minutes now, I feel a bit better. We were unbeaten in 14 before today. It is only the first leg. We are still 6 points behind Liverpool, and they have a much harder second half of the season than us. There is reason to be positive. But again, not to bang this drum again, it's the same issues. So that's why everyone's so annoyed.
Yeah.
Gavin, talking as if Arteta isn't aware, we were about to spend £100 million on Mudryk and Šeško. It will come. We can't solve all our problems at once. I kind of agree with this. I do think at some point we will go and do that, because I think the club have shown that they're interested in doing that. Sami Mokbel had an article that came out a couple of weeks ago saying that, the Athletic have reported it, and I've got people that tell me stuff, and they tell me that Arsenal are looking at forwards. And you're always looking at players, but I think we are looking at forwards. But it's just a question of when we're going to act. And this institution don't give me much faith that they would panic, which is probably a good thing and a bad thing. I don't believe that the way we're run at the moment, we are the sort of club that will mid-season make £50 million worth of like, right, if we were going to do something for £60 million in the summer, but let's go and do £110 million in January. They're just not going to do that. Sorry. No. And it's, we're sat here as fans with, me with 20 quid in my back pocket, millions of pounds.
And the problem lies, we're so emotionally invested. So emotionally invested, and we all want what's best for the club. So if we go out and we pay like a 50-60 million pound, say if we do a release clause, what's Nico Williams, 45 million, I think,
something like that. Yeah.
If we do that, we would all be over the moon. Okay, showing ambition, we do that. The problem lies, if he is not the right player long term, we are going to be in the same position that we've been in, like I mentioned earlier, with like a Trossard, where we're sitting going, why didn't we get the player that we actually needed? So it's so difficult.
Yeah, I do hear that, but I also think it is okay. Like, it's a balance, right? I understand, but to me, that's still slightly in project mode. Like, we're still slightly in that, like, well, we can't make any mistakes because it's going to mess up our project. And to some degree, I just think, like, is it okay for us at times? Again, I'm not saying we want to make mistakes, but is it okay to us to take a bit of a risk? Like, I
think it has to be a calculated risk, if you know what I mean. So, like, if it was an Isak and they go, way over 100 million, I'm not going to have any qualms about it, because he is we know what quality he is. Yeah. I remember with Nico, it's more of he's a bit of an unknown quantity. So,
yeah. Just seeing this comment, Tom from the Gooner Talk saying on window, we aren't in a position to spend big in January. How's it even possible? Last season, every week was about record financial figures. Honestly, on finances, here's what I'd say. Don't believe anyone who is giving you like, this is the fact. I'm telling you, no one knows. The best you can do is guess with PSR stuff. And just to give the other side, I'm not saying this is right either, by the way, but this was another person. So Swiss Ramble was an analysis to estimate, you can never know, Premier League clubs' PSR headroom implications for transfers. Swiss Ramble reckons we could post a £164 million loss this season. But again, no one knows. Like, no one knows. So my suspicion would be looking at the best way I think is to look at other clubs and what they're kind of spending relative to, what probably, are we going to have similar commercial revenues to the Chelseas and Uniteds of the world? Look at what they're spending, sort of thing, and to look around relatively. Do we feel we got space? I'm pretty sure we do. I'm pretty sure we do. But we don't know. Would you sell Saliba if guaranteed we sign Isak?
No.
Nope. Sorry, mate. Nicholas Bisbee says we had every chance to buy Isak and got Jesus.
Oh,
Nicholas, trying to cheer us all up here.
Oh, that's so depressing.
What happened to 15-goal season Odegaard? He looks tired, mate. He looks tired. Again, I think we're asking him to do something he's not prepared to do, but I think he looks tired.
Yeah, he hasn't looked right at all. I mean, doesn't make it any easier not having Saka there. That's part of his game. He hasn't got Ben White there as well. So, but having said that, there's no excuse. I think some of his performances just, when he came on in our last match, it was the most lethargic I have ever seen him, like unable to press. And that's just something completely uncharacteristic for him. So yeah, just at the moment, he's disappeared.
From Professor Aggresso says, I'm starting to get worried that Odegaard might never be the same after the injury. I hope I'm wrong, but it would be a real shame. This is actually a point I hadn't considered, to be fair, about the injury, how it might be affecting him. I think we would have heard more about it if that was the case. Honestly, I just think we're expecting something. I think people are waiting for like a moment where our eyes pop, and that might be a goal or something. We go, oh, he's back. I think he's okay. I don't think he's been at his absolute best. It's going to take a little bit of time. He's been in and out of the team a little bit. I wouldn't worry long term, personally. But he needs a midfield partner who isn't just a runner. Well, Rice isn't just a runner, but the way he's being used. He needs someone to provide some impetus in the team. So he doesn't have to, So man.
Camavinga.
So he doesn't. But even Camavinga, he's not a dribbler. So like, I want someone who can dance through midfield. So Odegaard doesn't have. People are expecting Odegaard to be, basically dribbling. It's just not who he is. It's not who he is. London Nomad, thank you so much again. How can you not put Arteta at the root of our squad building issues? He's so obsessed with his profiles and systems. We missed out on Guimaraes, Paqueta, Kudus, Isak, and Diaby. He kept faffing around. Look, mate, neither you nor I know how much Arteta was involved in those decisions. He might be 100% involved. He might be 1% involved. My suspicion would be he was involved, but ultimately you can't say he is the only person involved. I would highly suspect. Look, as I say, so I'm not going to sit here and say you can't say he's at fault. I don't know, but neither do you. Neither of us know. So I don't think it's fair to say he's the root of our squad building issues. He's obviously going to be a big part of it. But we discussed the other targets he's gone for, and I don't think it's fair to just put it all on him. Jake, it's frustrating because there are probably 25 to 50 attacking players in the top 5 that could come in and have an immediate impact. Most of them would not be the perfect signing, but they would improve us. And this is, again, mate, like, to hammer home the point, but I've said this before, perfect doesn't have to be the enemy of the good. Like, it really doesn't. Like, we can sign Semenyo. You can sell players, it's possible. You can sign Semenyo for £50 million and sell him for who wouldn't take Semenyo in the summer for 30 million? If that got us over the line and it cost us £20 million, of course you'd do it. Of course you'd do it. But by the way, you'd sell him for more. But like, this idea that we're going to be stuck with a player and it's going to ruin our finances, I think it's project brain for me, personally. Sorry, I'm rattling through the super chats. I'll let
you go for it.
Arsenal will do nothing this window and say it's too expensive. We're meant to be a big club, but we move as if we're broke. Meanwhile, clubs like Chelsea are out buying the bar whilst we drink tap water. What a lovely analogy. Lovely. Yeah. Nothing more to add on that, Jerome. Hopefully we've covered that elsewhere, but thank you for your super chat. Dane, Arsenal 23 shots, 3 on target. Newcastle 7 shots, 4 on target. Jeez, man. Yeah, we spoke about this a little bit earlier, Dane. Yeah, it's just really frustrating. On a positive note, we should see Arteta's most offensive setup in the return leg. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, and we also had another super chat from Y. So should we start the youth academy for the away game? No point playing our injury-prone players for a useless cup game. We don't care about that much. In terms of the second leg, do you see any hope?
Honestly, no. I mean, I hate being that person, but no. And playing a youth team, like, who do we really have available that would be eligible to play it? Like, in terms of, it just that you can't play a Max Dowman in that. You just can't. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it would be mental. As much as George would be loving that, I think we would.
There's people in this chat who would, by the way, who would want to play him.
But it might. I mean, we just talked about the fixture list. It might be the only opportunity now we do have to rest players. I mean, the Girona game and then the game, the break just before Leicester. I think they're the only 3 opportunities, and that's depending on how we get on in Champions League. So it might be 2 opportunities to rest players now. So
I'll be so real. I don't see us winning this game at St James's Park. I think it would be a bit of a suicide mission to go and like go full. And probably Arteta would. What I would love to see is a bit of growth from Arteta here, and actually go, do you know what? I am just going to like go off the gas a little bit and maybe sit in and try and hit them with Martinelli and hope one area someone's back by then. Maybe hopefully a signing by that, and go a completely different route and try and sort of win the game with a couple of free kicks and corners or whatever. Like, honestly, like I think this idea, and Arteta probably will do it, which I think is a bit of a naive thing of a coach to do, just to go like how Klopp did it a couple of times. Like, he just went into the Carabao Cup and was like, I'm not gonna try here, and usually end up winning something that season. It's not. I don't think this idea that we have to go pedal to the metal. Yeah, pedal to the metal every single game. I don't necessarily buy. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe famous last words, and I would love to be wrong. We're not going to go to St James's Park and beat them 3-0. It's not going to happen. So I honestly, I'm not saying we throw it, but equally the game plan has to reflect that, I think, personally. Last couple of super chats before we finish. I'll let you go. It's been an hour. I tell Alex, can you come for half an hour? Possible Edu saw a recruitment issue and dipped. Possible. I would be surprised, to be honest. I think people. This is their lives. I doubt he just it was just based on Arsenal.
I do want to say though, is it true he's on gardening leave at the moment?
I think so. Getting back,
which is really interesting, isn't it? That if he's not straight in another role, it's interesting that we've allowed him to leave before a January transfer window. So that's
yeah. I mean,
if he is integral to everything that's going on, if the relationships were really good. I'm not, I'm just
No, I hear you. I don't know. I mean, I think this. If I hear anyone say, "Oh, we didn't have Edu, so we couldn't make a signing," shut up. Honestly, shut up. Would you swap Nelly for Nico Williams every day of the week and twice on Sundays? Bonjo, lack of energy, same as last year. No Dubai this year, and that is really the problem. Alex, done an hour. Let's conclude with this. Final thoughts. Really frustrating evening. Really frustrating. I think the Carabao Cup is done, which I think is unforgivable. Like in and of itself. Don't think Arteta's job's at risk. Because I think it's just not even close to a conversation personally for me. We have very, very clear issues, which we've detailed throughout this podcast. If you want to hear them again, how we approach transitions, the transitional quality. Usually the defense is fine, but this evening was the problem. But it's the transitional stuff. It's the profile and misprofiling in the middle. The box efficiency. And I would say the general setup in terms of the flow of games, finding ourselves very boxed in without the balance on the wings, just going over and over, wave after wave of attack. There's different ways of approaching games, and we do this too much. And then at the other end, we see what we could have won, which is incredibly frustrating. But, big but, we're 6 points behind Liverpool. Look, it's in their hands, but I think it's all to play for in the Premier League. I don't think it's over at all. I'm not saying we're going to win it. If I had to bet on it, I don't think we will, but I think it's possible. And we're still in the Carabao Cup and we're still in the Champions League. It's so, overall, as much as this was frustrating, there's stuff that we can take from this and move forward.
We just have to be just positive in the transfer market, positive like as supporters, and just hope and pray. I mean, like you say, we will be there at the end of the season.
We'll be there.
I was waiting for you to do that. Do you know what? Coming on has been quite cathartic because although I'm still livid, it's not as bad as it has been in recent times for us in terms of like I'm a lot older than a lot of people in the chat. I have seen some dark days with this club. But yeah, we will be there. We could get in a fantastic attacker over the next couple of weeks. We could then go on a another incredible run like we did last season. We're 1 point behind where we were this time last year in the Premier League. We're still second place. We're seeing big rivals like City and where they are 6 points behind us. We're still in 2 other cups. We'll be there.
Aaron London says facts, Forder.
Thanks, Aaron.
Stan, I know you're watching. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Alex and Alex here. We really would appreciate it if you went out and signed Alex Isak for 150 million. I could chuck you like $20. Get it done. Sign some players! Right, so finishing there. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. It's actually really high numbers for a loss, which is crazy. So thank you all for being here. Thanks to make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Check out Forder. Go to Forder on Football on YouTube and check him out on X at Forder on Footy. Youth Pod coming later on the week for Cannon Pod members and patrons. You can check that out. Main Pod was out yesterday. Got a rewatch of that game. Jesus Christ, coming with Rohan tomorrow. We might do something else. I actually don't think I can rewatch that game. And other things coming this week. We're going to do a rewatch of this game. I don't think I want to ever again.
Rohan could do it solo. It's fine.
He can do it solo.
He didn't turn up tonight. He can do it solo.
Exactly. You never turns up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Look after yourselves. We'll get through this. Us emotional fan base. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal.